come of age and start to actually see the puzzle pieces move around, actually kind of, the varnish is off a little bit. You're in the game and you're
Neo
actually
in the Matrix.
seeing the moving pieces. When did that sort of revelation occur? And I know that's a process, so I don't expect a date, but when did you start sort of seeing the broader picture?
So if we go back to, so in 08, I left SIG in 08, and 2007 was like a bonkers year for us. Our NYMEX building initiative that we had started had done really well. She's actually another public person, Tina, who's more protein bars on Twitter. She was also part of that team, but she was on the NIBOT floor at the time, and we're all part of this team. And we had really taken that business from don't go losing a lot of money to like we were onto something here. What happened was in 08, standing next to, you're standing next to all these guys that are on deals where they're getting 80% of their P&L. It's like they don't get salaries or whatever, and they're trading way smaller than me, but you could get 70 or 80% of your P&L. And I said, you know what, that sounds pretty good to me, rather than, making a very, compared to our P&L, like my pay wasn't that high, even though it was like pretty high for a, 27-year-old kid or whatever guy at the time. But the guys next to me, they were crushing life. So I said, okay, I should go be an entrepreneur here and go get a backer and all that. So that happened. I took 6 months off in 08, got engaged, kind of, got healthier, all this stuff. And then I went over, I had a non-compete with SIG. All SIG traders get this non-compete. So I couldn't trade oil. So I went over and started to trade natural gas. I convinced the backer that I was steady hands. I said, look, I know this thing's a beast. We were trading nat gas. My partner was trading nat gas. I know what this thing looks like. I know it's a widowmaker and a nightmare and all that stuff. They never had anybody trade nat gas for them. And I convinced them that I was steady enough to let me do it. So I traded gas. I started trading gas for them, and I ended up, I built that. I brought on a partner that was my former colleague at SIG, who ended up being my partner all the way. I mean, he's still at the hedge fund that I just left, but he ended up being my partner for my whole career from that point. We hired another guy. We traded gas. I was the floor guy. My partner was the upstairs guy. We had a clerk on the screens. We were basically making markets everywhere. Like we were covering all the voice brokers upstairs. I was covering the pit, and then our clerk was streaming. So between us, we kind of had all those aspects of that business kind of covered. The problem is natural gas decided it was going to be a crappy thing to trade, because the shale boom starts happening, and this ultimately killed volatility in the marketplace. And we were finding interesting little niches. I started trading gas versus UNG. I actually got myself turned upside down on that pretty badly, because right when UNG, I don't know if you guys remember, like 2011, there was all this stuff about, sorry, I'm being kind of long-winded about this. You asked the question.
No, man, you're right on track.
So, all right. So in 2011, that was when commodities, people were starting to get upset. Like, hey, if you're going to let all this speculation in commodities, we're gonna screw up the price of food and all these things, and it's going to be bad for the economy and regular people, and all this, get these investors out. It's kind of the same thing we see with real estate today, right? Like, get these investors out of these markets. So in UNG, what had happened was the trust decided that they were going to cap the creations. And what I was doing at the time was, this is when I had a backer. So we were Arbing UNG vol versus gas futures vol. And what happened was, when they capped the creations, UNG went to a premium over its NAV. Now, the supply is restricted. By the way, I think a very, very, very large and smart arbitrage shop, who I think I know who it is, anticipated all this and created all the shares. So they basically lifted the entire market. I think it was like multi-$100 million kind of thing. And so the irony of it, of it all being where I had been. So anyway, what happened was I was long UNG vol, short gas vol. And every time, and gas was still kind of volatile at this time, every time gas would drop in price, the premium to NAV would just like basically, sorry, every time it rallied, the ETF basically would like converge back to its NAV, and every time it sold off, it would widen. So what happened was I was long something that stopped moving, and the thing I was short was doing this. So this is normally a trade that's like, okay, maybe there's like 2 vols in this thing, 1 vol in it back then, whatever. Nowadays, things like that, it's like 0 vols are in it. But like back, like when I'm doing it, it's like 1 or 2 vols might be in the thing. This thing went to like 20 vols wide. And it's like, you can't really get out of the trade, and the realized vol is chopping you to pieces. So anyway, gas made me real, and that was trading, having a backer, it's like mostly my own money in there. So I was like, this sucks. This isn't, I'm getting pretty annoyed. And then after all that, gas vol starts to basically drop. And I'm like, you know what? We got to find other ways to make money. This gas stuff's not working. So that was when I went into the gold and silver pit, caught that, just got lucky on that. Cause then silver went, that was when silver went to $50. I happened to already like have a membership on the COMEX, and I could trade it from the pit. We were